Welcome everyone to the L7C Podcast Pop Culture Edition. Today we are back with another L7C Tournament bracket for this month because the first one was just so good and then very negative because we were talking about turn-offs. We decided to do the positives and do the turn-ons. So we have returning for the second time this month already, making the comeback, Miss Chelsea Hepburn. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Good. How are you?
Why did you hesitate?
Because I forgot I had the little thingy on. That sounded weird. The little microphone on my shirt.
For those of you, obviously, who can't see this, Chelsea is not in the usual recording setting. We don't have the usual microphones. We're using the smaller ones, and she forgot that one was clipped to her shirt.
So I didn't know where to speak to. Because I'm dumb.
But, Chelsea, obviously, they've listened to the turn-off bracket. People had their thoughts and opinions. And now we're doing the turn-on one. We're just going to get right into it just like last time. What do you say?
Woohoo!
All right.
Go brackets.
Go brackets. So first round, we have making an effort versus confidence. Which one do you want to advance forward?
Making an effort.
Okay.
I think that's like the baseline of any good relationship, and it shows that the other person cares and values you. So
Okay.
making an effort.
So making an effort goes on to the next round. And then how about good hygiene, which if people listen to the last episode, you saw bad hygiene won our worst turn off. So now we got the opposite. Good hygiene versus vulnerability and that's supposed to be authenticity. Authentic.
Authenticity.
Yes.
Both.
Well, you can't do both. Only one can advance.
Both.
Well, you're going to have to like one a little bit more than the other.
Like, good hygiene is very important.
Obviously, it was voted the worst turnoff by you last episode.
But, like, vulnerability and authenticity, wow, that word is really hard.
Yeah.
Are also very, very important.
These are all important. That's why you got to pick which one's a little bit more important.
I don't like this. What do you think?
Well, I think good hygiene. I would think good hygiene just because since it was voted the worst thing last time, I think it should at least be considered to be on moving on just because of I'm basing off of like
what we did last time.
What we did last time.
But like I want you to be vulnerable in like yourself if you're with me.
Well, how many people do you know who've actually been vulnerable?
I mean, a few.
Okay.
Like, friendships, not necessarily like all relationships. Some relationships, yeah. But at the same time, having good hygiene is super important.
Yeah, I think it'd be harder to be more vulnerable in the dating space now because of all, as you joked with the little microphones, all of the influencers and all the other content people are saying, don't do that.
I'm going to go with vulnerability and authenticity.
What an upset.
That's what happens in brackets.
That is true. Upsets happen. All right. So then good communication versus physical fitness.
Good communication.
Okay.
Just like physical fitness is great. Everyone should take time for themselves. But at the same time, it's such a range. So like, I'd rather have good communication. But I also don't want you to be a lazy bum. But at the same time, I can be a lazy bum sometimes. So I'd rather you communicate if I'm being a lazy bum and vice versa. Communication.
So then I guess on the physical fitness thing, what's the threshold? Because then if someone says you think it varies and all that, are you dating someone who would make it on a TLC show? Or are you dating like...
We literally just watched 600 Pound last night.
So I mean, are
funny.
you dating?
No, like...
So that means it's important in the sense that they can't get to 600 pounds.
Right. Like I want you to be healthy, ultimately.
And that can vary depending on person.
Yeah, but like there's the certain thresholds that you can't let yourself go to on either end of the spectrum, like whether it's a significant weight gain or a significant weight loss.
Okay.
So making sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost.
Okay. So 400 pounds, is that the limit for you? I'm just saying.
No.
Some you can be 400 pounds and some people can be healthy at 400 pounds. Some people. Very few.
If you're an NFL,
you're getting there.
What is it?
Linemen. Good job.
Yeah. Go sports. If you're like one of those guys,
okay,
I'm sure they reach that threshold.
They do. Some do.
So, but like they're in shape. So if that's healthy for them, great. Is that my type? No.
Okay.
But like it's other people's. So whatever. But like we're not getting into the weird feeder territory.
Some people think physical fitness is just you can make it to your bed. Since you were talking about 600-pound life, that they can't even make it to.
Yeah, no, that's a whole other podcast of 600-pound life and hoarders.
So this one, the closest thing we have to a quote-unquote PG-13 one. Unique style versus sensual touch.
I don't really care about unique style. Wear what you want. Just feel comfortable and look cute-ish. I guess touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Kindness and respect versus thoughtfulness.
They're kind of the same thing.
Kind of, but which one do you like more? Which wording do you like better?
I guess kindness and respect, because you can be thoughtful but still disrespectful.
Okay.
Like if you respect my time and the relationship, like that's more important than being like thoughtful of like, oh, I got you flowers, but I'm not going to respect you because I'm like 45 minutes late.
Fair enough. Eye contact versus shared interest. So with that one, obviously people on first dates holding a conversation, that person's looking into your eyes instead of looking down on their phone, as 2025 is nowadays, and engaging in that conversation. That's what they mean by like the eye contact.
Some eye contact's good, but I'm also one of those people where, you know, when you're like looking at someone and then you're like, am I making too much direct eye contact? So then you're trying to be natural by like looking away, but you're thinking about it like, okay, I've accidentally stared into the soul of this person, but I don't know how to like pivot. And then you're just in your head and you're like, am I blinking too much? Like, do I stare at the wall behind them? Is that weird? So I never know what to do. But I'm also incredibly awkward. So I would rather have shared interests. Okay. Not everything has to be like the same interest, but like if we can at least have a conversation about some stuff, that'd be cool.
Gotcha. So this one is physical features, different from fitness in terms of like if there's certain features that jawline, nose, eyes, because obviously those aren't things that you can like work out.
Right.
Those type of things. And that's versus someone who respects your boundaries.
I'm going to go with boundaries just because like me personally, everyone I've ever like dated or whatever, none of them have similar features. It's always been either like personality or just vibes, I guess.
Okay. Vibes.
I didn't want to say like Byron, please edit that out.
Vibes. Fair enough. Boundaries. Moving on. So now we go to round 2. We have humor versus making an effort.
Making an effort.
All right, making an effort goes to the final 4.
Yeah.
And then we have the vulnerability versus the good communication.
I mean, with good communication comes vulnerability and authenticity.
Or you're such a good communicator that you hide your vulnerability.
Wouldn't that be bad communication?
Not necessarily. You can just communicate other things.
Talking out your way out of it.
Because you're a good communicator, a la a politician.
Some would say that's a bad.
Someone would, but
in my definition, if you're being a good communicator, you're like telling me about your hopes, dreams, feelings, shenanigans, whatever comes to mind. Like,
Some might think different. Which way are you
just
gonna go?
communicate with. Communication.
Okay, all right. So communication will go against making an effort in the final four. And then we had touch versus, which one did you have? Kindness and respect?
Yeah.
So touch versus kindness and respect.
I like both.
Well, we've gone through this multiple times on here.
It can be a tie.
You can't do a tie.
And double overtime, still a tie.
You still would have to pick one. There
And
has to be a winner.
We all get participation trophies.
No, we don't. You gotta pick one.
Both are super important in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. But which one is a little bit more important?
Kindness and respect.
All right. Kindness and respect going to the final four. And then you had shared interests versus boundaries.
Shared interests.
Shared interests in the final four. So now, to go to the championship, shared interests versus kindness and respect.
Kindness and respect.
Kindness and respect, making it to the championship round. And then you had making an effort versus vulnerability. Or did you have alternate or good communication?
I don't remember. I thought you were keeping track.
No, I think it was good communication. Pretty sure. Because vulnerability and authenticity went against good communication. Now, which one did you pick out of that one?
Good I don't remember.
No,
can we rewind?
We can rewind. Which one would you pick now? Rewinding that one. Because that one is going against confidence.
Good communication.
All right. Good communication versus making an effort, to go to the championship, to go against kindness and respect.
Making an effort. No, false. Good communication.
Good communication versus kindness and respect. Championship round. These two made it to the championship round. Which one is more important?
They're the same thing-ish to me. Kindness and respect.
Kindness and respect. The best of top turn on.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I like them.
All right. So I'm going to have a question. So then, again, just because I'm the moderator, fans are going to ask, if that's the biggest turn on, then how come in the last bracket, disrespect and whatnot didn't make the championship? Lack of respect. That was the lack of respect.
It didn't. What was in the championship last time?
Because
that was beginning of the month. I'm a different person.
It was the beginning of the month. If I had my computer booted, I could tell you, but I know the finals was hygiene. Because hygiene was on that side.
Yeah.
And then we had hygiene and inflexibility.
Oh, those were, and I think I probably.
Because then there was obviously lack of respect, dishonesty, and obviously if we're picking kindness or respect number one, they're going to be like, why didn't lack of respect get more love?
Because other turnoffs were grosser or worse. And those are real words.
Fair enough.
No, kindness and respect, I think, are the biggest turn-ons.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially like first few dates. Because that kind of gives you an indication of who the person is. Obviously, they could be faking it, but hopefully you have a good read on someone.
There's a lot of people who fake those things to get what they need, and then
life goes on.
Yeah, they say adios.
Adios.
No. No. Chelsea, anything else? Two brackets in the month. Look at you. You're back.
I know.
Full force.
And I participated in a work bracket. I picked Gorgonzola to win. Obviously, they didn't. So I think I'm done with brackets until next year. Until
next topics.
Yeah.
So then what are you going to do next month? You got to keep it going.
Next month is what? April?
Mm-hmm.
April showers, spring, May flowers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. April.
As it said, silent as she is thinking. And then what's going to happen is that she's not going to think of anything. And then she's going to ask for ideas.
The little hamster in my head is just still running on the wheel.
Running.
There's no thoughts.
Oh, my Lord.
I don't know what to talk about.
We'll figure it out.
There's nothing interesting.
There's something always interesting. There's a topic for anything on the planet Earth.
It's Earth Month next month. We could talk about the Earth.
We could. It depends on how serious you want to talk about the Earth.
We could talk about recycling.
Could talk about recycling. You could talk about how much longer you think the Earth actually has.
We could talk about the 4 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, Rihanna.
Okay. That was kind of clever.
Thank you. I am clever.
As the awkward silence plays, no. But anywho, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe wherever you listen to. Chelsea is back on the ball, and you will hear from her soon. That being said, take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.